Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Battle Across Time Collection 2-pack with Sideswipe and Maximal Skywarp. So as we always do, let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging first. So you can see right up there at the top, you have Sideswipe and Maximal Skywarp. There's their artwork, Kingdom War for Cybertron Battle Across Time Collection. Over here on the side, you do get a little bit more artwork. You get a little Scorponok up there. And they are deluxe class, and this is on the wrong side. Normally it's on the other side of the box, but it's on this side for this time around. And on the back, product shots. You see them in both their modes. You have all the warnings, and you get the Battle Across Time sad baby. Over here, Kingdom artwork. Up top, Battle Across Time collection. It is WFC K42. On the bottom, manufacturing information. So that is it for the packaging. So let's go ahead and find out what came inside that box. So laid out here before you is everything that came inside that box. And we'll start as we always do with that little sheet of warnings. And you get the instructions. Sorry, no collector's card in this 2-pack. So the only thing that we're left with now are just the remaining 4 accessories. And we'll start over here with Sideswipe. So you do get Sideswipe's standard issue, shoulder-mounted cannon, if you will, and you'll notice it is just painted. So if you look inside here, this is black molded plastic and red molded plastic, just with a nice coating of white paint on there. Next up is the rifle. So similar situation, it's a black molded rifle with the white paint. So good amount of molded in detail, just painted white. And as far as Skywarp goes, Skywarp comes with the same little missile pod, whatever you want to call them, rockets that Airazor came with, only molded in white instead of in the gold. So she does come with 2 of those. So there you go. That is it for everything that came inside that box, of course, other than the 2 figures. And what we'll do now is we'll bring Sideswipe in, and we'll start with him and go with his close-up and details and articulation. And here we have Mr. Sideswipe, so let's go ahead and bring him in for his close-up. Now this is the Earth version of his alt mode and not the Cybertronian version, so it's good to finally get the Earth version of this mold. So we'll start up here with that head sculpt, and that is without a doubt a Sideswipey head sculpt if I've ever seen one. So good details even on the side. And come down here to that big broad Lamborghini chest, even though it's not officially licensed. And it's got a big old Autobot symbol right there on the front. A little bit of detail right there on the crotch, and then you come down to these legs. And these are pretty much just the standard legs that we've seen for the Siege mold of this figure. So not a lot of excitement down here. You do have the white right there and the white on the feet, kind of setting off the blacks and the reds. And not a lot of detail going on the inside. You do unfortunately have a few hollow areas. They've at least put a stylized rib in there, so that's helpful. And coming over here to the side, so there's part of a car. Up here at the arms, a little bit of molded in detail. And lift that arm up. No real hollow areas to speak of in this mold, which is always appreciated. Coming around to the back. And there is the back, or the top of the car. And legs. And I do like this little gimmick that they've done here with the legs, if I keep that pushed in. So these gives those knees that ability to bend. So as far as articulation goes, it's no different than the Siege Sideswipe or any of those other molds. So you get a little bit of side to side, a little bit of up and down, and you can take that head all the way around if you want to. The shoulders come up that far, go all the way around, 90 degrees at the elbow. Bicep rotation, and then wrist swivel due primarily to transformation. You do get waist swivel on this guy, so you can take that all the way around if you choose to do so. You do get thigh rotation, and you can give him some pretty good splits. Not quite a Van Damme, but pretty good. Kicks forward that far, kicks backward that far, and gets just under 90 on that knee bend. And as far as the feet go, you can get a little bit of up, you can get a little bit of down, and you can get some extreme ankle tilt. So posing on these guys, this type of figure is a breeze. You can get him in some pretty dynamic poses. So no real complaints there. So the next thing we'll do is we'll bring in his accessories and we'll have a little bit of fun with effects. So yeah, Sideswipe has effects compatibility. I think this pretty much sums it up. You can do pretty darn much near anything you want to do with this guy. So a lot of effects fun here. And you can see he does have his shoulder-mounted cannon, and he has his rifle right here, both of which have effects compatibility as well. So just adds to the fun. So yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and get him on out of the way, and then we will bring in Skywarp and give her a nice once-over as well. And here we have Maximal Skywarp, so let's go ahead and bring her in for a close-up. And this is the exact same mold as Airazor, just with a different head sculpt, so seems appropriate that we would start there. And yeah, what an interesting head sculpt it is. So yeah, I guess I like it. I think it's got good detail on there. And come down to the chest. Again, all the same amount of molded in goodness that we got with Airazor, just with a new paint job. And then some nice detail here on the upper thighs. All white down here. I think this could have done with a little bit of paint. And then coming down here to the feet. Not really much to speak of on the feet, except I really do appreciate the gold on the toenails when she's in her eagle or hawk mode. And coming back up the sides here. Not a lot to speak of. The arms have a little bit of detail in there, and then the nice feathered texture on those shoulder pads. And coming back here, we can just look at these feathers real quick. See the good paint apps and the details on there. And turn her around. Not really that bad in the back. I like what they've done with this mold. In general, I think this is a very well done mold, so no issues at all. I do have a little bit of paint coming off on a couple of the tips of the feathers there, so you know, I think over time that this probably isn't going to hold up very well, but yeah, as of right now, I think it looks pretty good. All right, so as far as the articulation goes for this figure, again, just like Airazor. So if you have Airazor, you're going to see the same things here. So a little bit of side to side, a little bit of up and down, and taking it around if you want to do so. At the shoulders, you can bring the shoulders up that high, and you can bring them around, just keeping yourself aware of the wings. Speaking of the wings, you can do whatever you want to do back here. Fold them out like that, fold this out, bring them back, however you want to do it. The default is the tab and the slot right there, so just tip that in, plug it in, fold this wing, and so that's kind of your typical robot mode look for the wings. So after the shoulder, we do get just over 90 on the elbow bend and bicep rotation, and down here at the wrist, you get a wrist swivel upward, due primarily to transformation, but this is also helpful for some posing. And bring this arm out, you do get waist rotation. And then down here at the hips, you get one of the best Van Dams ever. Great stuff. And she'll kick forward that far. And she'll kick backward about that far before she starts running into herself, but you can move this tail out of the way if you want to for the posability. And as far as the knees go, great knee bend right there. Again, due primarily to transformation, but love having the ability. And then you do, because of transformation, you do have this extra ankle joint right here, so you can bring that ankle joint forward if you want to give her a stance like that. And then down here at the foot, this is just on a ball joint, so you get forward, back, and some side to side. The side to side is a little more limited than I would have liked it to have been, but you can bypass that by turning this foot and doing that if you need to. So you can get her in some pretty dynamic poses. So now that we've gotten the details and the articulation out of the way, let's go ahead and do the same thing with her. We're going to load her up with some effects and take a look at her with her accessories. So here we see Skywarp with her accessories and with the use of the effects. And as you can tell, this mold is nowhere near as effects compatible as the Skywarp mold is. And that's kind of disappointing. It would have been nice to at least maybe had some rocket feet availability to have some ports down there, because hey, who doesn't love rocket feet, right? So that would have been nice. It also would have been nice to have had a port in the back so you can use like for weaponizers, fossilizers, or to simulate Skywarp getting shot in the back by Starscream, because that's where Starscream shoots people, is in the back. So as it is right now, I've taken the 2 accessories that she comes with and kind of put them in her hands to simulate the use of pistols. Now you can mount these on her forearms or on her thighs, whatever you want to do in robot mode. But I just put them in her hands this time so I could throw the effects on and just highlight where those effects ports were for you. So yeah, I mean, she's a little weak as far as effects go, but this is an incredible mold. It's a lot of fun, so I can overlook that fairly easily. So what we'll do now is, while we've got both of these figures in their robot mode, we'll bring in some robot mode comparisons so you can see how these two stack against some of the other figures out there. So for our first robot mode comparison, I figured I'd go ahead and go big here. When I think Skywarp, this is what I think. This is the Leader Class Combiner Wars Skywarp. So I hear Skywarp, I think a Decepticon Seeker. So that is our first robot mode comparison. So you can see the Kingdom Skywarp Maximal next to the Leader Class Combiner Wars Skywarp Decepticon Seeker. Next robot mode comparison is Masterpiece Red Alert. Next up is the Transformers Prime Predaking, because, hey, why not? Our next comparison is the Earthrise Sunstreaker. Next up is the Kingdom Airazor. And finally, this is the Siege Sideswipe. And here you can see Skywarp and Sideswipe with their mold mates, so just one last look with the most direct comparisons that you can get. So there you go. And that is it for the robot mode comparisons, so let's move on. And here we have Sideswipe in his alt mode, and this is his Earth alt mode, not the Siege Cybertron alt mode. So this is his Lamborghini, not Lamborghini, because I don't think they got the licensing for that. So let's go ahead and bring him in and take a look at him, get a nice close-up look. Got those nice headlights right there up front. You got that black bumper, big old Autobot symbol, just like we saw in robot mode. And I like what they've done here with these windows with that blue tint, but with that silver or that chrome underneath to still kind of give him that Cybertronian look. I think that looks really cool. One of my biggest complaints on the alt mode here is just the black right here and right here. Would have been nice if they would have molded those in red or done something a little bit different there to keep the nice flow going. But credit where it's due, these are nice wheels. There are no mushroom pegs to be found anywhere, so thank you. I appreciate that. Looks really nice with those wheels. And then you've got good detail just all through the back of the car. And coming around here to the back side, it falls apart a little bit right here. Sorry, my rear end is a little crooked. It falls apart a little bit right there, but yeah, I don't know. It's not that bad. Most of the time you're going to see it like that, so it doesn't look awful there. Would have been nice to have had some paint apps right back here, but for the most part, not too bad. For a deluxe class figure, I think this comes together pretty good. And there he is from the top. There he is from the bottom. So this is your standard War for Cybertron Sideswipe mold. Transforms the same way. Everything is the same as far as that goes. So you do a little bit of visible head syndrome, and you've got the folded arm setup right there. So yeah, there you go. Now we'll bring in some effects and throw his accessories on in vehicle mode so you can see everything he's capable of as far as the alt mode here. And here we have Sideswipe with his accessories and with all the available effects ports in car mode. So it's not a lot, but it's enough to have a little bit of fun. And you know, you can, with these weapons, I mean, you've got a couple of ports on either side where I have these effects. You could plug one gun in on either side. You could have one on the side, one up there, have them both together up there if you want. You could throw an effect in that port right up at the top. Really up to you, but this is just demonstrating all the effects ports and the availability that you have there and couple it with the accessories. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. Not a lot to it, but it's fun. So let's go ahead and get him out of the way, and we'll bring Skywarp in, and we'll take a look at her in her alt mode and get into her effects and her accessories in her Hawk/Eagle mode. Here we have Skywarp in what I'm assuming is her bald eagle mode. So let's go ahead and bring her in for a close-up and take a look at what she has to offer. So right off the bat, we'll take a look at that eagle or hawk head sculpt. And she does have those nice blue eyes, got that yellow beak, and you do have this little grip right here, this little spot where you can put your fingernail to open that mouth up. And coming over to the side, you got those folded up arms, but I think everything folds up pretty nicely on here. And other than having, much like Airazor, a pretty considerable booty, I think everything folds up nicely and makes a fairly convincing bird. And I mean, you just can't beat the wingspan. I mean, that looks great. And flipping her over. So yeah, I mean, overall, you've got those nicely painted gold toes. Yeah, it all works. Now I do have the accessories on her right now. Reason being is because I personally, I think without the accessories, this looks off. Like this just doesn't look right. So, and these aren't effects compatible in any way, so I just almost think of them as kind of a parts forming to complete the bird look for her. So yeah, there you go. Now as far as articulation, unlike Sideswipe, who the only thing he does in car mode is roll, you do have the head where you can go side to side with it, you can go down, you can go up, and then of course you do have that beak that moves, and then you can take these legs and pretty much move them however you want. I mean, if you want to have them like this, you can do something like that. If you want to have them like that, where it looks like she's swooping down to grab something, you can do that. So you do have all that motion in the leg that you can take advantage of. And then down here in the feet, you can pretty much move wherever you want. And then same thing with these wings, up, down, sweep these back a little bit if you want to give her kind of a dive bomb kind of look. So yeah, I think that all works really well. So overall, yeah, I mean, I think the bird mode for this mold for Airazor or Skywarp, either one, I think works really well. It's pretty convincing going from a alien robot to an animal. Why not? So, all right, let's go ahead and put a couple of effects on her and talk about that real briefly. And here we see Skywarp with the only effects compatibility that she has. And guys, it's not much, but she's got it where it counts. I mean, you throw this figure on a flight stand like this and throw some rocket effects in there. All right, you got me. I'm in. I like it. So, yeah, not much to it. But, it looks cool. And they've won me over. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and we'll bring in some alt mode comparisons so you can see Sidewipe and Skywarp next to a few other figures so you can get a sense of scale and some comparison. For our first comparison, here is the Kingdom Airazor. Next comparison is the War for Cybertron Siege Sideswipe. So you can see just what minor differences they've done between the Siege and the, what I'm going to call the Earth mode. Next comparison is the Bayverse Laserbeak from the Transformers Dark of the Moon. And our last alt mode comparison is the MP12 Lamborghini, aka Sideswipe. And just because, here's the Battle Across Time Earth mode Sideswipe with Siege Sideswipe, Sunstreaker, Deep Cover, and Red Alert. So yeah, Hasbro has definitely gotten their use out of this mold. So let's go ahead and talk about those final thoughts for the Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Battle Across Time Sideswipe and Skywarp 2-pack. First of all, that is a mouthful. Second of all, just right off the bat, I will tell you, if you don't already have copies of these molds in the form of Airazor or the Siege Sideswipe or something along those lines, then I'm going to recommend that you pick this up. These are good, fun molds that you don't want to miss out on. With that being said, let's go ahead and do a real brief deep dive here and hit a few of the bullet points that I want to talk about. So number one, the overall aesthetics here. I think both of these figures look good. The sculpt work is nice. The paint is nice on these. The molded colors, what they picked, brings both of these figures to life. I think they look very vibrant, and I think they have a good shelf presence. Would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit of additional paint apps on Skywarp and on Sideswipe. Particularly with Sideswipe, I would have liked to have seen where the shoulder assembly is in car mode. That black just sticks out like a sore thumb. It would have been nice if they could have molded that in red or done something a little bit different there. But for the most part, in both modes on both of these figures, the aesthetics are very well done. I'm going to give them, a 7 out of 10 on that as a combined score. Now, as far as articulation goes, the articulation on both of these figures is outstanding. It is limited in certain places where I think they could have used a little bit more, particularly in the feet for both of these figures, actually. And I'm a little taken aback by that because Skywarp does have ball joint feet, but she has limited ankle tilt. She has up and down that are just fantastic, more than you would ever use, but the actual ankle tilt is limited just with the shape of the socket that ball goes into. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more articulation there. But for the most part, articulation on both of these figures is absolutely outstanding. So I'm going to give articulation for a deluxe class figure. I'm going to give them 9 out of 10. So job well done on the articulation. As far as accessories go, they're okay. I'm underwhelmed for both of these figures with the accessories. Sideswipe's accessories are the same old, same old. This is standard issue stuff that you get with this mold. The accessories that you get with Skywarp, I think, are even more disappointing. Number one, they should have been molded in a different color than her forearms or her legs, because when you mount these onto her forearms or her legs in those ports, they just have a tendency to blend right in. So it would have been nice if they would have been a different color, maybe a chrome or a silver or something, just something different. Secondly, it would have been nice if they were effects compatible. That would have really set them off, and it would have made this score higher. But as it stands right now as a combined score for both of these figures, I'm going to have to give about a 4 out of 10 on accessories. I just think they're underwhelming. Overall quality, I have no problems with either one of these figures. As far as the joints, everything is nice and tight. Nothing was missing. The paint apps aren't smeared. Nothing bad is going on there. The worst that I can say is on the wingtips on Skywarp. I have a few bits of paint that have flaked off. I don't know if that's something I did. I don't know if she came that way. But really, that's it as far as complaints go for the overall quality for these figures, particularly with being deluxe class. Everything works as it should. Everything looks as it should. Everything that was supposed to come with them came with them. So I'm going to give them a 9 out of 10 on the overall quality. And the last bullet that I'm going to touch is value. I think this is a 2-pack of deluxe figures, and this is an Amazon purchase. And what you pay on Amazon, the retail price for these, I think is just right. I don't know if I would pay scalper prices for these figures, particularly if you already have copies of these molds in the form of Airazor or the Siege Sideswipe. But I think the retail price for this 2-pack is right on the money, and I had no issues whatsoever paying what I did to get these 2 figures. So overall, that's going to wrap it up as far as my bullets. And I'm just going to say overall that, to reiterate, if you don't already have a copy of these molds in Airazor or in the Siege Sideswipe, pick this up if you can. It's definitely worth it. These are great molds. They're a lot of fun. So with that, that's going to wrap up the review. As I always say, guys, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave us some comments. Let us know what you think. I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on these figures if you've picked them up. So with that, that's going to wrap everything up. I'm going to let you guys go, and until we see you guys in the next one, take care.